the first thing you need to do is I want you to take a look at this sheet you picked up on the way in. This sheet right here is for you to go through and list your definitions of the different terms that are given. You can find these terms in your textbook. Okay, so that's why the page number's there. But list the definitions and then give a picture or an example. All right, so for instance, it doesn't have to be anything major. For instance, on axis of symmetry or line of symmetry. Holy moly. All right. For axis of symmetry or line of symmetry, the definition or description, anyone want to give it a shot? Just like in your own words. It doesn't have to be some kind of math-ese thing. Yeah. It's a line of reflection for your parabola. Yeah, it's the line of reflection for your parabola. Okay? So you could put, if you really want to have a math definition, that's fine. This is for your use, though. Okay, so if you're drawing your picture and you sketch out a parabola, all right, and you sketch in the axis of symmetry, right? Some key pieces, if you recall, the axis of symmetry is always x equals. So maybe you add on there in your picture, you say this line we call x equals something. So if this line was at 3, it'd be x equals 3. That's the equation for the axis of symmetry. Over here you could, as Grace said there, it's your line of reflection. Maybe going down the middle of your parabola or breaking your parabola in half or cutting it in half, or cutting it so it reflects upon itself. Okay? All right, so I want the definitions to be useful to you, not to me. This is for your help, to help you bring all of chapter 7 together. Okay, so as you're working today, I want you to make sure you've read through these different terms so that when you encounter them on your review, you go, oh, hey, that's one of the terms I've got to define. I want to put down, and so you can come back to this page. Okay? All right, so let's take a look. Actually, why don't you read through those terms real quick, just so you know which ones they are. Yes, Grace.
The definition for quadratic formula, can you describe what quadratic formula is?
Yeah, for the definition of the quadratic formula, sure, that'd be great. Just write down the quadratic formula and define the different pieces. And maybe you put standard form here, ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0. You write standard form, and that's where you pull the a, b, and c from. You want what's going to be helpful to you on it. Okay? All right. Hey, try to keep yourself on task there. Okay? All right, moving on. We're on this page now. It's your other review. Okay? At the top, we're going through what we've done in chapter 7 in terms of the axis of symmetry, opposite of b over 2a, and the coordinates of the vertex. So right now, read through that, and I want you to work with your group to find the solution to number 1, the equation for the axis of symmetry and the vertex. You guys get about 3 minutes or so to work on it. Hey, so many of you asked me on this, once you find the axis of symmetry, which didn't seem to be the hard part, most of you are able to do that pretty quickly, but I noticed walking around that a lot of you had A and B and C, and they were labeled correctly. Did a good job on that. I think it's important for us to remember, though, once we get that axis of symmetry. What was the axis of symmetry?
2.
2, yeah. So we put opposite of b over 2a. That opposite of b makes that a positive 4 over 2 times 1, and you got 2. Most of you got that. Remember, it's an equation, x equals 2. So remember, once we get that, it's important to remember that we put that back in. That's telling us what y equals. We just have one value of x. It's 2. So wherever we saw an x up there, I'm going to put a set of parentheses. We put that 2 in. That gives us 4 minus 8 plus 1, or negative 4 plus 1, which is negative 3. So now we have our coordinate. That 2 is the same, negative 3. All right, so that's a bad, there we go. Well, that's still bad. It'd be nice if this would focus. Woo. All right. Hey, questions on it? Okay, moving on. Well, you guys, yeah. All right. Very good. Hey, moving on to the next page. You guys can finish that one later. I want to take a look at what we're doing here. I'd like you to please read the directions. Oh, I'm sorry. Go back one page. Go back to the front page. I forgot to tell you to make a correction. Mistake. Number 5, is that a quadratic? Why not? Yeah, it's missing an x squared, so we're going to add that squared right there. Because we wouldn't want it to be too easy for you. Huh? You can't have a negative a. The only reason we haven't dealt with negative a is because it's harder to factor. With the quadratic formula, you can have a negative a. That's okay. This means a is negative 1 now.
For f of x, I'm like 3 and 6, because that's just y.
Good question. Yeah, the other question came up for f of x on number 3 and number 6. Is that just y? Do you guys realize back there that you're a big distraction? Like, hey, real quick, if you can't handle sitting together, then you can't sit together, right? You can't handle looking at each other. I know it's tough to look at each other sometimes. That's why you turn and look this way, right? Without laughing and stuff, you like looking at each other and you make weird faces and you laugh. Let's just pay attention, okay? If we can't do it, then you can't sit by each other. All right, so this f of x is actually
Y.
same thing as y. Yeah. So if it makes it easier for you, just write it as y. It's just in function notation right now. Okay? Well, once again, I was really impressed the way you guys are writing down a, b, and c next to them on your paper. That's going to help you out a lot. All right, good questions. Let's look at the next page. I want you to read the directions at the top there, please. Jesus. Focus. Okay, so tell your neighbor what you think you're going to be doing there. Hey, Bree. Make sure you're talking to someone, okay? Maybe you can move up with Victoria and talk with this group, or slide over so you can talk to them. Okay. Hey, can I have your attention back up here? So, looking at this, I heard I heard a couple of the guys back here say you start out. How do you start out, Teddy?
Sorry. What we said to find the axis of symmetry, and then put the equation at the top, and then write it down in the table.
Okay, and I think the exact words I heard was like you start it the exact same way you did the previous problem, or something like that, right? You do everything the same that we just worked on, right? You use the axis of symmetry, you find the vertex, and then once you find that, remember that's what we put here. That's our vertex. Oops, right down here. So once we look at number 7, we use opposite of b over 2a, we find the vertex, put it here, and then we move from there. Go ahead.
Are the vertex and the
So are the vertex and the axis of symmetry the same thing? So if we look back to the previous page, axis of symmetry and vertex, are they the same? Yeah, parts of them are, right? What part's the same? The x is the same. The y we have to use x to find. Right? Okay, so that's what you're going to do first. Good question. So go ahead and work on that. Spend some time trying to fill out that table. And then we'll talk about the solutions and graphing here in a minute. Okay, so I want to give you more time to work on this stuff, but I was noticing as I was walking around, most of you have no problem at all finding the axis of symmetry. From the students I saw, what did you guys get?
2, -3.
Good. So the actual axis of symmetry is what, though?
2.
Hey, everyone, quickly tell your neighbor what's the equation for the axis of symmetry? Hey, time's up. Can I get a volunteer? Savannah. X equals what? Good. X equals 2. Yes. Well done. So the equation of the axis of symmetry is x equals 2. All right. Now, what do we do with that 2? Dustin, what do we do with that 2?
I don't know, I sneezed.
Oh, you don't know you sneezed. Okay.
Yeah.
All
I
right.
don't have smart sneezes.
That sometimes they'll just like enhance our ability to think.
I lost all my brain cells.
It's not good. You gotta quit sneezing. Okay. Hey, can I get your attention back up here? I need a volunteer to tell me how I'm going to find the vertex. Carson?
You plug in, you write down like 0 and then -1, -2, and then +1, +2, and then you plug them into the equation.
Okay, so which value of x am I using to find the vertex? 2. Good. A bunch of you said 2. It's this one right here. Okay. Now, how many of you remember this table? What was the benefit of having this table versus this table?
Oh,
Go ahead, Teddy.
you can just look at the equation and bring down like the number or the x and plug it in like just really fast.
Yeah, you can do it really quick. You can show your work, right? So that gives us 2 squared is 4. 2 times -4 is -8, and 2, we do have to do anything with the 1, right? So that's just +1. So what's -4 4 minus 8 plus 1? -3. So our vertex is -3. So if you want to create that other table, and they give you a table like this, it's okay to just show it this way. It's a nice way to stay organized. Okay? So someone new that hasn't participated yet, this would be 2 -3. Tell me how I know what other values of x I'm using. Grace?
Well, you basically go, so you write down 3, 4, 5, you go higher and 1 down.
Hey, just going numerical, right? Good. And so what's this one going to be up here? 1 and 0. Now 0 is a special one. When x is 0 and we find y, what is that thing called? Y-intercept. Yeah, good job. Y-intercept. When x is 0, we solve for y, and that's always what value? Tell your neighbor, talk about it real quick. When x is 0, what value are we going to always get for our y-intercept? Okay, Alex, what do you think? Yeah, it's C. It's whatever your C term is. So in this one, it's... What is C, everyone? Yeah, it's 1. We put 0 minus 0 plus 1 is 1. Okay, we fill out our table. 1 squared is 1 minus 4 plus 1. What do we get? Uh-oh. -2. All right, good. Okay, 3 squared is 9 and